Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Writers Podcast. I have with me today Katie Anglehart. I was going to say Angelhart, but Anglehart. Hello, Katie. How are you doing?
Hi, good. Thank you. And that's such a common mistake.
I bet. Well, if you see my last name, you can imagine all the butchering that I get with my name. So I understand that totally. So you are a award-winning author from Montreal, even though you're currently in Toronto right now. And why don't you tell us a little bit about who you are and what kind of books you write?
Yeah, such a tough question. Who am I? We can get philosophical. So I guess I'm a fairly new author. My first book, The Wise One, is an urban fantasy for young adults, teenagers, of course, as well. And it came out in October of 2020. So it did take me a couple years to write the second one, which is going to be released on November 16th. And I've written most of my life. I got into writing programs as early as possible. I studied journalism, creative writing, script writing as well. I have such a huge thing for television. I've always wanted to run my own TV show.
Cool.
Yeah. So I guess in a nutshell, that's me. I live in Toronto with my 3 pets. Nessie's a little mutt we rescued. She's from the streets of Puerto Rico.
Oh.
We have 2 bunnies, Onyx and Sterling. I used to have a dwarf who passed away after 11 and a half years. His name is Magic. So I actually named my imprint, the Magic Dwarf Press, after him.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I don't know.
Okay, so yeah, you covered a lot of material there, or background, I should say that. I can't wait to hear your elevator pitch, because if it's as concise as that, then
I had to practice that a lot in script writing. I hated the elevator pitch. Oh my, what pressure!
Yeah, I bet. Yeah, it's not on the top of anybody's list. No. I don't think, unless you're an agent and you're trying to make a deal or something like that. But yeah. Okay, so your latest book is The Twin Flame?
Yes, that is the sequel to The Wise One.
And is that out yet?
It's out November 16. You can pre-order it now on Kindle only. And then if you want the print, you wait till November 16. Just order that. And then not long after, we'll just release the hardback. But yeah.
Okay. All right. Very good. So let's get a little bit more into your background. So you took a lot of writing courses in that, you said, and so was this creative writing, fictional writing, or did you take a variety of courses?
Yeah, I guess from high school, I joined the newsletter, anywhere I could start writing. And then I went into journalism after that, because I thought, well, if I want a writing career, I guess that's what I have to do. Mm-hmm. So I did get a bachelor's in journalism, but I realized it wasn't for me. It's not the type of writing I wanted to do. I learned a hell of a lot, and I loved the program. Is absolutely amazing, but it wasn't. In the end, I was like, I think I need to write creatively. I need to write books. I need to maybe work on television shows, and that's the route I tried to take. So after that, I got a master's in creative writing, and I kind of used it as my excuse to finally write my first book. So The Wise One is actually I declared it my thesis project. So I was able to get mentored along the way and really looked after, so it was like my baby for 3 years. and I loved it so much. I got so much into the characters. I didn't want to let it go, and it wasn't finished. So here comes the sequel.
All righty. And what kind of writer are you? Do you plot out your stuff ahead, or do you just like to, pants or whatever you call it?
I feel like I give a different answer every time. No, the truth is, because it depends on the mood I'm in. I can get very outliney, but I can also easily ignore that outline. So with The Wise One, I had a very loose outline. I had a main idea, and I saw the character very clearly, and I saw the setting more than anything. I knew it had to be in Ireland, and then eventually Scotland. The second book takes place in Scotland. So I had all these elements, and I get inspired by different things. So historical events inspired me in this case, and Neolithic period, because there's I love the idea of like ancient magic,
Mm-hmm.
like a Newgrange is a passage tune that is very mysteriously built in alignment with the winter solstice and the rising sun,
Okay.
So things like that, and all of these things kind of just like blended together in my brain, and I came up with this idea. And I guess from there, it's a loose outline. And as I'm writing, that's when I'm like realist, like really plotting, and it changes in the middle. But so I'm a very loose outliner. But I do need an outline, or else I'm just sitting there going, "Oh God, what happens next?" So I most of the time know the beginning and the end.
Okay. So what's your favorite part of the writing process?
Man, I do like the first draft. It's so raw, and I mean, no one should read that. But it is a lot of fun because you're working it out, and you're just so proud of yourself for getting a page down. So that part is really exhilarating. I think I like that, and then I like the last stage, which is just like, okay, let's go back and actually make this sound good, and you feel so much better for it because there's so much anxiety between the first and the last stage where it's like, oh, it's not perfect. Oh, the plot points aren't lining up. Oh, this character isn't quite right, or these descriptions sound terrible, but those will be fixed. But in the middle of all that, it's a lot of like, for me, can get very nerve-wracking. So first and last stage, I think, are my favorite.
Okay, that's interesting. And for this series, I'm curious why you chose the setting that you did, and did you have to do a lot of research to make it seem plausible?
Heavily researched. The setting is so important. So I did my honeymoon in Ireland and Scotland. So I was researching while writing the first book. And I went back to Scotland. Yes, I know. My poor husband. No, he loved it too. And he's a history buff. And we had...
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, we had a blast. I was taking notes like mad. And then I went back to Scotland because I needed a hell of a lot more information for a second and third book.
Okay.
And I just like, there's something about these places that I've always been attracted to. I knew I had to go visit. And then once I was there, confirmed, I'm obsessed. I loved it. I knew I had to learn more. I loved the folklore attached to the land, and the people are so, they're just such nice, amazing people. It's very hard to describe, like just the warmth you feel there. I love the weather. I'm not like a hot temperature kind of person. There's something about those places that made me feel very just attached to it and very at home. So I just knew it had to be there. There's a lot of magic weaved in with the stories of the history attached to the land, and that's what like inspired so much of the magic in my books.
Okay, and just we might as well turn to the premise of your books then. And
sure.
You decided to choose the YA market. Any particular reason why you did that, or is it just because that's the age of the character? And
it's the age of the character. It's what I like to read. It's more like my teen self. What would she like to read? Like I started getting obsessed with reading when I read Harry Potter. And that's sort of, that's like where I think I've had 12-year-olds love my book. I've had 35-year-olds love my book. So there's that. That's pretty much the YA market. I try not to think of market when I'm writing, but it is something that tends to come up, of course. But I just think of the characters in the story. And I think that's what people are attracted to. That's the readership that likes this type of story.
Okay. So I see on your covers that the series is called The Scottish Scroll.
The Scottish Scrolls, yeah.
Scrolls. And what does that mean?
It's tied to an ancient prophecy. These scrolls were written down in the 16th century, and it's a past life version of the main character. And I don't want to say more than that. It's already a bit of a reveal, so hopefully you forget I just said that. Anyway, so it's a prophecy fueled story. I would say. Yeah.
So who is the protagonist of the series?
Her name is McKenna. She's 17 years old. The book takes place in 1991. I just wanted that kind of retro feel era, and also there were a lot of political struggles happening in Ireland and Northern Ireland at the time, which I thought was just important and mirrored a lot of my like themes of like just conflict in the world and humanity and that kind of thing. It's just an important backdrop. I just was very affected by it when I learned about it. So that is the backdrop of the story.
Okay.
So she grew up with two dads, very unlikely at the time, too unlikely in the sense that being accepted as normal. It was not at the time. So she always kind of felt like an outcast, but she loves her family so much and she had a great upbringing. And she also knew there was something wrong with her, so quote unquote wrong with her the whole time. So she figures out on her 17th birthday that she was born with these abilities, who her dads then finally revealed to her were passed down to her by her birth mother. So that's what she does. She sets out to find her birth mother and find out more about herself. And that's what brings her to Ireland.
Okay. And you've got 2 books in the series now. Do you have an idea of how many it will be in total?
That's my least favorite questions. Since you can tell how I plot my books. So the third one, definitely, I think there's going to be a fourth. I almost hope there isn't because it's so strenuous, but I think there will be, to be honest with you. I think I'm seeing 4, but I can't really confirm.
Okay. I guess just from the covers, I was under the impression that it was taking place back in like at a previous time period, not in 1991. So that's very interesting.
Well, there are flashbacks to previous time periods, so you are not off there.
Okay, yeah, because one I almost says like I'm seeing Stonehenge or something on the cover there. I don't know what that is exactly.
That is a stone circle that takes.
Okay.
That's a part of the first book. Yes.
Okay, so you must. And not just a setting location, but I guess a lot of your research had to do with Scottish and Irish folklore. Mm-hmm. And is that a lot of that going to make appearances in your book?
Yeah, some of the stories definitely get weaved into the narrative. Absolutely.
Okay. And how do you handle that juxtaposition of a 1991 modern world with these more fantastical elements? Like, is this... Like, is a character like in a rural setting, or like? Yeah,
that's a good question.
Like, how do these other characters show up? Does anybody else see them, or maybe am I asking too much there?
Well, there's a lot of traveling in the first one, so it definitely goes from town to rural settings.
Okay.
For that, I hope that answers your question. The 90s feel is like it does feel, it's her and her best friend and this mysterious man who sort of is helping her out on her journey, who shows up. And then the old setting is more like the old feel, the ancient feel is more within the sites she visits and the magic she feels in those places. And then in the second book, it's a lot more about the flashbacks of herself in that time period. So that's all I can say about that.
Okay. Is it like, understandably, Harry Potter, they go to totally different locations where more of these fantastical beings are met, but yours is more an urban fantasy, correct?
Yeah, exactly. It's a little bit more grounded in reality, but I'm definitely not saying that there won't be more fantastical elements. With each book, it does get more fantastical, and the third one especially will be.
Yeah, would it be a fair comparison then to like the Dresden Files? Or I assume you're familiar with that series, where Harry's a detective, but he is a wizard at the same time, and he's got all these, beings from all across all these folklores that kind of coexist in our world, and regular world people are normally just not aware of them. Somehow I have not read that. Ooh. That sounds great. In a sense, that even sounds a little bit more fantastical than mine right now. But yeah, we're sort of going to get there. This is a bit more subtle nature magic at first. Okay. Yeah. That Dresden Files is like that too, and then every novel expands it and opens it up more and more. So love that. Yeah, you should check that series out. It's quite good. Oh, definitely. There's like 15 books now. Good for the author. Yeah, because I was kind of wondering if you said you were doing 4. I was thinking, well, is she going to maybe change her mind and try to make it a long running series? Oh, that's very possible. Oh, okay. Okay. That's good. So who is the antagonist in this series then? There's a high priestess who is after her. She wants to make the prophecy come true because the prophecy states that McKenna will be responsible for banishing the reincarnation of millions of souls, which will in turn save the natural world. So her intent is to save the natural world because it's headed for ruin, which is another part of why the 90s time was so important, because it was kind of a pivotal time. It was like there's Al Gore and there's these people talking about all of a sudden environmentalism,
And that's a huge, huge theme running across my books.
Okay.
So that's an interesting time where it's like, what do we do now to change this future? Yeah.
Okay. So that's, was that something that you knew from the outset, or did that arise organically as you were writing the book?
That's something I knew. I knew it was environmental, and it was about the destruction of our planet.
Okay.
A cause that, yeah. I mean, I'm a green person, I would say.
Okay. Okay.
and it's important to me, so it is something that I did definitely intend to part of my book.
When you're passionate about something like that, there can be a tendency to get preachy. Is that something that you were aware of, or I don't know, did you have beta readers and say, you're laying this on a little too thick at times, or?
I've been told that I somehow was not preachy. I'm sure some people think I am, but maybe that's because they're a bit more mature. They're not seeing it from a perspective of like a 17-year-old going through this story. So that's on them. Go read an adult book that's more subtle about it, I guess. But no, I've been told the balance is good and doesn't go too preachy. So hopefully that still stands.
Okay. So you're currently looking at 4 books, right?
Oh, well, yeah, don't put words in my mouth.
Oh, okay. No, I'm just putting your words back to you.
No. Just say 3 because I definitely know there's a third, and then we'll go from there.
Okay. All right. And how far are you into the 3rd book?
If I were American, I'd say I would invoke my Fifth Amendment right not to respond to that question. As in, I am very, very scarcely into the 3rd book, but I don't want to throw readers off. I'm not waiting very long to release it. I'm going to be a much faster writer this time around because I think the pandemic just slowed my focus a lot. I had a hard time writing during the pandemic, and I will not wait another 3 years for the 3rd. So
very good. Okay, very good. And are you writing anything else besides this series, or is this pretty well all consuming for you?
It is all consuming, but I can't help but get these ideas that I jot down. I have a TV show I want to shop around. And I do have a standalone novel I'm excited to put out there. I think it's going to be just like a much lighter feel, and it's just like a fun teen read. So I'm excited for that. It's more magical realism and just kind of more quirky and charming, I would say. Almost like a Gilmore Girls meets like a Downton Abbey, but with some mysticism, like that kind of thing.
All right.
I'm just thinking of a few projects, but I do want to get the 3rd one out first.
Okay. I should have asked this a bit earlier about your current series. Is there a romantic interest for your protagonist?
Yes. It's not a heavy plot point at all, and it's extremely subtle in the first. It does get a little bit more. What's the word?
Intense?
Yeah, it's not intense. It's not like it's not an NA. It's not a
more tangible,
book, right? Yeah, a little bit more tangible. That's a good word for the second one. So it's a subplot. It's not. Don't read it if you want a romantic novel. It's not smutty or anything like that.
Sure. It's just that all good stories usually have some sort of romantic element to them. So
it was hard to resist not getting a spark between these two. It kind of happened on the page, actually, pretty organically.
Oh, cool. So has your writing process changed at all since from your first book to your second to your third?
Yeah, I would say so. I just got better at being in a routine, and I had no choice. In the second one, it was taking me so long to sit down and focus for the first couple of years, of course, that in the third year, I kind of had like a vigorous writing routine, and I wrote every day.
Okay.
So, minus weekends. I'm not very good at weekends. But yeah, that definitely. And I plan to do the same for the third, or else it's like procrastinating is just way too easy.
Right. Okay, that's very good. I think that's everything that I've got. Is there anything that hasn't come up that you would like to mention at this time?
Just a way to follow me, and just if you're interested in subscribing to my newsletter. Do you want me to? Should I?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. So if you'd like more news and updates and some interesting historical facts around Scotland and Ireland and all that fun stuff, you can subscribe to my newsletter. It's on my website, ktanglehart.com. And you can follow me on Instagram and Facebook at kt_Anglehart. I believe that is all.
Okay. And your book is currently on Amazon at Kindle only? Is that?
No. So the first one is any bookstore, any online bookstore, as well as Amazon and really wherever you get your books, print, ebook, hardback. Second book, you can pre-order the Kindle right now, but the paperback will also be released on November 16th.
Very good. Well, I want to thank you for your time, and I wish you all the best with your series and your writing of your third book.
Thank you so much for the very thoughtful questions. So some of those were tough to get around there.
I didn't mean to make you work, but
you did make me work. But thanks. It's nice and stimulating for the rest of my day.
Oh, that's great to hear. All right. Well, I appreciate you coming on the show, and when you get your third book done, I guess you'll probably come back on and talk about that one.
Well, I would love that. Thank you so much.
Excellent. Okay. Well, it's very nice to meet you for the first time, KT, and enjoy the rest of your day.
Thanks. You too.
Okay. Take care now.
Bye.
Bye-bye.